Chapter 218, Brothers Met. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Once back at the inn, Zhang Yuochen entered the internal space of the time and space spinal to begin his practice. Even if he wanted to stay in the Yunwu city as Chen Yuo for a few days, he still had to use the time wisely. Those few days could not be wasted. Since I can't find the god habitat grass, I can only refine the three-leaf holy clover. I must grab the chance to raise my cultivation to the level of advanced stage of the earth realm as fast as possible. Three-leaf holy clovers could only live in a place where Half-Saint fell. It could improve a warrior's physical quality and cultivation, for it absorbed Half-Saint's power all year round. Now, Zhang Yuochen had 53 pieces of three-leaf holy clover left. As long as he managed to refine them all, there might still be hope for him to reach the level of advanced stage of the earth realm within a short period of time. According to Zhang Yuochen's calculation, at least 4 months would be needed if he wanted to do so and turn those into his own power. For other warriors in the earth realm, breaking through a realm within 4 months was considered to be very fast. But it was still too slow for Zhang Yuochen right now. Even if I were to borrow the power of time and space spinal, the 4 months will only be shortened to 1.5 months. Zhang Yuochen knew very well about his current situation. 1.5 months was not a long time, but not a short time either. The situation was constantly changing. Who knew what would happen next? There was no other way. He could only work hard to improve his martial cultivation as much as possible. Zhang Yuochen separated 3 pieces of three-leaf holy clover from the rest and put them in another jade casket. He planned to bring it back to the palace and give them to 9th Commandery Princess. The efficacy of three-leaf holy clover was not so obvious right now for Zhang Yuochen, but 9th Commandery Princess's cultivation was in the Black Realm. Even a single piece of three-leaf holy clover was priceless for her. It could refine her body of martial arts and expand her chi lake. Zhang Yuochen refined 4 pieces of three-leaf holy clover in 6 days within the internal space of the time and space spinal. His martial cultivation did not improve significantly, but it was stronger and purer than before. Only 53 pieces of three-leaf holy clover can help me to break through my realm. When my cultivation reaches the advanced stage of the earth realm, I'm afraid the three-leaf holy clover will be of no use to me at all. Martial arts practice was something that should be done step by step while advancing gradually, but Zhang Yuochen took another way, and that was to use the most expensive practice resource to level up his cultivation as fast as possible. In the meantime, he was also using the pill and scent power to refine his physical quality, strengthen his body and expand his chi. It could be said that Zhang Yuochen had invested heavily in terms of improving his physical quality. It was not advisable for others to use this method at all. First, the consumption of practice resources was a large sum. For instance, the 53 pieces of three-leaf holy clover were worthy of 15 million silver coins, but Zhang Yuochen only used them to reach the advanced stage of the earth realm. Even Huang Yanjun with a strong family background could not afford to consume resources in this way. Second, Zhang Yuochen had practiced the martial soul. Not only did he have powerful spiritual power, his understanding of martial arts had also reached the level of completion of heaven realm. So, he could refine practice resource with no hesitation to break through the realm as fast as possible. This was Zhang Yuochen's greatest advantage. Other warriors would have possessed by the devil if they practiced like this. Practicing martial arts was like pouring water into the wooden barrel. Other warriors not only had to fill the barrel with water but also add woodboard constantly so that the barrel would become taller and hold more water. But Zhang Yuochen had already gotten a wooden barrel, except that the water inside had been poured out by others. So, even if he needed to start all over again, he would only need to fill the barrel with water. He did not have to worry about the barrel's volume. In other words, before Zhang Yuochen reached the completion of heaven realm, his practice would go well without any hindrance. I should go back to the palace. Zhang Yuochen took off his metal mask and put on a robe specially made for the internal students of the School of the Martial Market. He hired a carriage and went straight to the palace. The 9th prince has returned. The 9th prince has returned. The news of Zhang Yuochen's return soon spread throughout the palace. Jiang Yuochen first went to the Jade Palace to pay a formal visit to concubine Lin. The maidservants' eyes were all glowing with awe and admiration when they saw Jiang Yuochen. They immediately knelt down and saluted to him with great respect. When a mother and a son met, they always inquired after each other's well-being. Concubine Lin held Jiang Yuochen's hands and did not let go for a long time. She cried and said, "Chenna, it's good to come back. It's good to come back. I should have taken more time off to come back and visit you." Looking at concubine Lin, Jiang Yuochen finally felt the warmth of family deep within his heart. Jiang Yuochen showed extraordinary talent in the school of the martial market. He was also engaged to Commandery Princess Yanshan of the Cayenne's Yue Commandery. Concubine Lin, too, had gradually risen to a higher status in the palace. She could receive some valuable medicines that were only used by warriors to refine their bodies every month. Over the past year, concubine Lin's complexion had gotten a lot better. It looked like she was 10 years younger. "It's a pity that you haven't opened the sacred mark, otherwise, I could give you some practice resources," Jiang Yuochen said. Concubine Lin gently touched Jiang Yuochen's head and grinned. She said, "Practice resource is expensive. Just keep it for yourself. As long as you can become a martial arts master, I am happy." A sweet voice echoed from the outside. "Brother, since you are back in the palace, why don't you come and..." Concubine Lin, you are here too. Ninth Commandery Princess Jiang Yuxi hastily barged into the room. Upon seeing concubine Lin, she was somewhat stunned at first, but a grin soon broke out on her face. Then she became docile and saluted to concubine Lin respectfully. Jiang Yuochen gently patted concubine Lin's hands and said, "Mother, I have something to talk with ninth sister. I will come back later and have dinner with you." Concubine Lin nodded with a smile and said, "Go ahead." Jiang Yuochen pulled ninth Commandery Princess along and walked out of the Jade Palace. He smiled faintly. "Sister, how is your practice of Dan scripture going? Do you have anything that you don't understand?" Dan scripture was handed down from Jiang Yuochen to ninth Commandery Princess. As one of the exercises of the inferior class at the ghost level, it definitely belonged to the top exercise of attacking in 36 commanderies in the Omen Ridge. Ninth Commandery Princess lifted her chin and said proudly, "I have reached the second level, the advanced stage of the Black Realm." Half a year later, when the School of the Martial Market starts their enrollment, I will enroll as a student. In due time, we will both be the students of the School of the Martial Market. So I will have to address you as an elder brother. He. Only reaching the advanced stage in the Black Realm. Jiang Yuochen frowned slightly and said, "Lin Ningshan has reached the dawn state of the Black Realm, which is one realm higher than you. You are certainly no match for her in the year-end assessment." "How can that be compared?" "Lin Ningshan is enrolled in martial arts sacred place, Yuntai Suzerain. It is only natural for her martial cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds." Ninth Commandery Princess grimaced, looking slightly displeased. Jiang Yuochen said, "But what you are practicing is the exercise of the inferior class at the ghost level. It is much better than hers. Tell me, what exactly is going on?" In response, ninth Commandery Princess stuck her tongue out and said, "Is this how you talk to your sister? Well, all right, I'll tell the truth. Actually, I wanted to be the top one on the yellow board, so I stayed in the yellow realm for more than half a year." Jiang Yuochen asked, "Have you made it to the top?" "Of course. I opened 22 meridians. If I didn't, that would be so humiliating." Ninth Commandery Princess replied with a smile. Even the 7th Prince Jiang Tangai, who was known as the first genius of 36 commanderies in the Omen Ridge, had only opened 23 meridians. She only had one meridian less than Jiang Tangai, which she was naturally very proud of. Jiang Yuochen shook his head and said, "The 7th Prince and your exercises both belong to inferior class at the ghost level. The 7th Prince's 6 mysterious martial arts is not as good as the Jade River Heavenly Script, but you have one meridian less than him. There is nothing to be proud of." Furious, ninth Commandery Princess put her hands on her hips, eyes widened into a glare and said, "7th brother is the top genius in 36 commanderies of the Omen Ridge. How could I compare with him? Even if I have the same number of the meridians, it is still impossible for me to be his opponent." It was true that Jiang Tangai's talent was indeed much better than ninth Commandery Princess and Jiang Yuochen. but being born in Yunwu Commandery meant he could not get the top exercises, so he had only made it this far. Zhang Yuochen really could not get angry at 9th Commandery Princess when he saw her expression. He said, "Remember, in the future, try your best to compete for a spot on the board. If you can't, then give it up. There is no need to delay your cultivation practice for this. Staying in the Yellow Realm for a little while longer will do you no harm. I won't blame you anymore. You shouldn't be so capricious in the future." Meanwhile, Zhang Yuochen took out a jade casket, passed it to 9th Commandery Princess, and said, "There are a total of 3 pieces of 3-leaf holy clover in it. If you can refine them all, I promise your physical quality will be improved significantly. Although it still can't compare with the 7th prince and my cultivation at the same period, it can at least reach the level 2 or even level 2.5. What level 2? 2.5? 9th Commandery Princess said. Zhang Yuochen said, "When you enter the school of the martial market, you will certainly understand." The sound of footsteps could be heard from afar. Having sensed that, Zhang Yuochen immediately turned to look at the garden gate. A handsome, high-spirited man dressed in a golden robe in his 20s walked through the gate. He had thick eyebrows and sharp facial features. He walked at a steady pace, emanating the aura of a noble person. Walking beside him was a graceful woman. She looked like she was in her 20s too. She was slim and had snow-white skin with long black hair. Her smile was like a spring breeze. She should be easy to spot in a crowd, as she would stand head and shoulders above the others. The two of them were walking in the garden with a large crowd following behind, among which were the 3rd prince, the 5th prince, the 6th prince, Lin Sheniu, Lin Ningshan, whom Zhang Yuochen knew, and there were also some warriors that he did not know. They went along all the way, laughing and talking casually or discussing politics. There were also some flatteries in between. "Your Highness, you are indeed insightful. Those evil scoundrels from the black market and the moon-worship demonic sect will soon be wiped out by the school of the martial market and the Yuntai suzerain. Since you are back, no one will dare to behave atrociously in Yunwu City." The handsome man in golden robe suddenly stopped walking and looked at Zhang Yuochen and 9th Commandery Princess, who stood in the middle of the garden. At first glance, it was almost like two young lovers in a private meeting. 9th Commandery Princess obviously feared the man in the golden robe. She went up at once, saluted to him and said, "Brother, Xuai is here." "So he is the 7th prince, Zhang Tangai." Zhang Yuochen narrowed his eyes and shot a look at the man in the golden robe. Today, it was the first time that Zhang Yuochen met the long-rumored 7th prince.